are going to put the bearings into the cases of the 300. From that 300, my 2018 300 XCW used to be a 250. So this is the left side. This is the roller bearing side. So I've actually disassembled the bearings and taken the inner race and put it off to the side. The outer race now we're going to put down into here. So it's been in the freezer now for a while. What I'm going to do is get my torch. I'm going to heat this up really, really hot, grab those bearings that are frozen, and hopefully they'll just drop right down in. If not, I'll be able to tap them in with a hammer really quickly. So let me grab the torch and get that heating up. Boom. There we go. Rubber mallet drops right in. Very happy about that. So now, here is one thing, guys. So it's only till tomorrow that hopefully tomorrow, that I have to wait before the crank shows up. But even though it's only a day, what I'm going to do is obviously that's going to warm up really fast. It's going to soak the heat into that metal, but it's going to create some condensation. Because it's sitting in the freezer, coming out here, it's going to get air on it, condense some water, and what we want to do is make sure that it doesn't rust at all, not even a tiny bit, before tomorrow. So I'm going to grab some spray grease that I have, spray that all down to make sure it stays nice and lubed up and doesn't rust. All lubed up. Now let's do the other side. There we go. 2 main bearings installed. I'm going to grease that one up. Alright guys, so next thing up, we're going to put seals in the left case half. So we got new shift shaft seal, counter shaft seal, counterbalancer seal, and main seal. So we're going to put all those in. Nothing super special. I'm going to just tap those things in with a hammer and a socket and be really careful to keep them nice and level. This one, the main shaft seal, I'm actually going to put a little bit of red Loctite, which is also an anaerobic sealer. That's what Loctite is, around the outside to make sure it seals really well on the outside. I've had 2 seals in this side already between blowing the motor up in Idaho and all that stuff. So I just want to make sure it seals really, really well on the outside. So from the aluminum to this, so I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that, push that into place. All the rest of them are a little bit less important. They won't blow a motor up. They might leak a little bit, but they won't blow a motor up if they're leaking. So gonna get that done here. One of the tricks to this, to make sure you don't go too far, is to get a socket. I use the back end of it because this is nice and big and flat. That's bigger than the hole it's going into, but the inside diameter of flatness is, you know, smaller, so it lines up good. But that way you can't push it too far. There we go. That ensures a nice flat seal, because like I said, since the outside of this is bigger than the hole it's going into, and this is nice and flat, it's pushing on the whole seal, it stops it automatically when it hits the case. So that's perfect, just like that. Now I'll get the rest of them. on, guys. All sealed up, ready to go. The next step we can do right now is put the transmission back in. So right here is where the transmission goes. This is the right side of the motor. I like to put the tranny in here, drop the crank in here, and then take the left side and put it on. So got our nice little bin over here that we've organized everything. So now we're going to take our crank, so now we're going to take our transmission, we're going to drop it down in here, and I'll show you how we line up the shift forks and all the good stuff, and the shift drum and all that. So key here, guys, this washer, this is the counter shaft, so this washer needs to go on here first. Here is our main shaft, and what we're going to do is we're going to mate these suckers up. So we kind of drop them in together.
Diego. My name's Andrew Wheel. He's like, that's not how you say any of those words.
Oh yeah.
That's right. My name. You didn't name me.
Yeah, it's whatever the fuck I want it to be. Alright, so there we go. Got the transmission down where it needs to go. So now we're going to work on the shift drum, which is going to go here. One of the beautiful things about KTMs is that the shift shafts, which go here, are separate from the shift forks, and that is actually really, really handy in this situation. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each shift fork and put it into its home like that, and then we can slide them out of the way a little bit so we can key them into the drum, and then afterwards we'll slide the shafts in. Alright, take our shift drum, and this is always the hard part, guys. The shift drum, guys, is always a bit of a nightmare to get down into its little home, but it will eventually kind of click into place. Okay, everything's lined up. Now we're going to take our shafts, come in here. This is going to solidify the whole thing, make it so it can't come out of place. There we go. There we go. Shifting mechanism is good. So now what we need to do is flip this thing over, and we're going to bolt this star to it to hold it down nice and tight. We're not going to go all the way. Okay, and there's a bolt here. We're going to put a bunch of red Loctite on that. But first, you see here, we got these two like half moons. This is like a big groove running through here, and that lines up on the shift drum. It's hard to show you, but it's impossible to put it together wrong. So you see this lobe is bigger than this lobe, and that corresponds on the thing. So you can't put it 180 out. It can only go in one way. There we go. Now we'll Loctite that. Come through. So it's gonna, as you tighten it, it's gonna get to a stop. You just want to kind of keep your hand on the back over here and just tighten that sucker down. There we go. Now I'm gonna reinstall this clip here so none of this can fall out. So first, now we're going to take this detent, we're going to reinstall it in here so that we can tell where we're supposed to be, neutral first, through 6th. This is going to be kind of hard to show you guys, but this spring, you can see, goes in that notch, and then up in here, let me see if I can get the camera in a good spot. So first, put some Loctite on that before we get too far. Come in and gonna have to compress this spring. With this, you can kind of just get started, and then you can jockey this stuff around once you get that bolt started. it's not all in place, so we got to pull it back as we go in. We're going to pull this back so it gets to the detents on the actual shift star. But we'll go a little further. So now we've gone a little bit past where it was. There we go. We just pull that back. So now it's hitting the detents. Come in nice and tight. And this thing's about 7 foot-pounds, so you don't need to go crazy, but we put a bunch of Loctite on it, so it should be good. Holding our hand on the back like this, keep everything in place. Get this rotated to where it's in neutral. And the thing is about shifting is as you're shifting, it's gonna go like a little bit. Sometimes it went all the way on that one, which is good. But sometimes it'll only go part way, like that. It's kind of hung up. So you gotta hold the counter shaft and the main shaft and twist them together, and you see how it clicked in. So now, looks like we're almost to neutral. So there's neutral. To test neutral, I'm gonna spin the main, make sure the counter doesn't spin. Okay, we're good. So now we'll go to first. There we go. Now we'll go second, which again, have to kind of jockey this. This thing, transmissions are not made to be working when they're not spinning. So there's second, third, whoops, fourth, fifth, and sixth. There we go. We're all working good. All right, guys, there we go. Right side of the case is built. Now we're going to grab the crankshaft, put it in there, and then we'll grab the other case half, put it down on top, and get the bolting everything up, make sure everything's good.